This is Arial. It is the default font in Google, and it's everywhere. It's a decent baseline. As you can see, it's pretty standard. But there are some things I don't like about it. Like this floating at sign. This dollar sign extends really far up. And all of these don't really align well with the parentheses. The lowercase l and capital I are completely indistinguishable. And the 0 and O are really similar. Now, what do these lines mean? This is a very zoomed in image of these guiding lines over here. And what this essentially means is the top edge of the highest character, and this is up against the bottom edge of the lowest character, whereas these three lines are aligned with the bottom edge of letters, normal letters, and the top edge of a normal lowercase and a normal uppercase letter. Times New Roman. This is another very common one. It has the same problem with the 0 and the O being very similar, as well as the L and the capital I and the 1. Now, obviously, these look quite different up close, but when you get further away, it can be difficult to tell between these. And also, this minus sign is really wonky, and the braces don't align with each other. Here's another font I just sort of picked out, called Roboto. I think it's pretty decent, but again, the 0 and the O, the L's and I's, and also this is just a mess. So what are we really looking for? You might have noticed a couple patterns. These are often the problem characters. Alright? Readability at small scales matters a lot, because we can't inspect every detail up close every time we want to read something. Even programming-focused fonts don't take much care with these. As you can see, it gets kind of hard to differentiate them when they're at a smaller scale. And especially when you're looking for one that's placed incorrectly. As you can see in this is just a piece of old code that I wrote that I just grabbed at random. And this is the unaltered version, and this has a couple inaccuracies placed around. And it's very hard to tell where they are just at a glance, because they look so similar. This is bad. Font should be as clear as possible, especially in a utility-focused environment, where every character matters. 1, lowercase l, capital L, and capital I often have extremely similar construction. It does not have to be that way. 0 is often just a slightly compressed O. It does not have to be that way. And the symbol set is often not aligned well with the letter set, causing text in braces to feel unbalanced. It does not have to be that way. As you can see here, everything is like pinned to the top here, and that's so that characters like that can fit in the braces, but since those characters are so rare, it makes everything unbalanced, just to make room for those characters. For those 6 characters right there. I think these are roughly the best shapes, the best general ideas of what a shape of these characters should be. Now, I do remember back in the day a slash through the 0 was more popular, but I don't ever see that anymore, and I just like the dot more, to be honest. So that's the one I'm sticking with. And this is from programming fonts. So let's have a look at one. Source Code Pro. As you can see, it doesn't have the 0 and the O problem, but it does have a little bit of weird alignment. And this $sign is stretching up to infinity over there. And the 1 and L are too close. I cannot tell you how many times I have mistaken something that looks like this for something that looks like this, and the other way around. Because it's often not at this scale, it's like at this scale, and you're not scanning every individual character like we can here. You're looking through entire words and entire functions, just glancing over them. And so it's very hard to tell those two apart in a split second. Now, we've covered a couple different styles, but what really are the options? The main 5 are serif, sans serif, script, monospaced, and display. Serif often has these like feet strokes, and it's a little bit more stylized, but still very traditional and formal. Sans serif is like a cleaned up version of that, with straighter edges and less decoration. Script is more like cursive and calligraphy related things. Monospaced is often what you'll find in a terminal and in programming environments, and it is very beneficial in those places to have characters all be the same width. And display is for like special fonts that are like quirky in order to like pop and grab your attention. Now, I think for readability's sake, serif, script, and display can be thrown out. I want to look at sans serif and monospaced. We've already looked at a couple sans serif fonts, so let's look at a couple more monospaced fonts. Here's Ubuntu Sans Mono. Now there's some weirdness with this, like the lowercase b is higher than the uppercase u. That's something I don't like. Some of the lowercase letters are bigger than the upper ones. And again, I don't like the floating @ sign. And if you zoom in, you'll actually see that a lot of the curved characters go above the capital line. Which is inconsistent, and it also happens on the bottom edge as well. And again with the 1 and the L situation. And oftentimes the I also looks a lot like an L, but it has a dot. I don't think that's that egregious, but I think it's extremely unnecessary. Let's look at another one. IBM Plex Mono. Now again, we are seeing more of that, the weird L that looks like a 1. That is everywhere in monospaced fonts. Of course, what's also everywhere in monospaced fonts is a differentiated 0 that does not look like an O. However, the curly braces are very quirky. And again, the @ sign, I don't really like it. I would move this underscore up a little bit. It seems like it's hanging really low. And also, these characters are kind of quirky. And also, as with a lot of these fonts that we've seen, the $sign is really big. And these curves go over and under the normal character sizes. Lightning round. We covered Arial. which has this problem of the L and the I being indistinguishable and the O and the 0 being too close. As you can see, this is very common, extremely common. And in Comforta, I explained earlier that it's a bit weird that everything is like pinned to the ceiling. You'll see that in a couple of these as well. The monospace classic of L looking a lot like a 1. Sometimes you'll have multiple of these characters, 1, L, and I, all looking very similar. And sometimes you'll have something like this where the bar doesn't even align with the braces. As you can see, that's taller there, and it doesn't extend as far down. And all of these kind of bug me. Also, sometimes I will mix up a brace and a square bracket. In Montserrat specifically, these look very close from far away. So what is my perfect font? Well, I did a deep dive a long time ago, and I found IBM Plex Sans in Google Fonts. It comes close to what I want, but I would make these changes. The 0 and the O look too similar, like so many other non-monospaced fonts. I would use a mono 0. Now, sometimes the parentheses and the curly braces are a little bit too similar, but these ones are fine. But again, it does look a little bit too much like square brackets, so I would exaggerate them more, like in Lexend. Then change the style of the G and the Q so that they're like that, because I just prefer those. Slightly raise the underscore, and also alter the alignments of a bunch of other characters. As you can see here, I have this top bar representing the highest, which is of course the $, and the lowest point, which is one of these characters, the lowercase ones that go down, or capital Q. And we have this center line that runs directly in the middle of the brackets. Now this center line is not the center of the other bounding ones. If we go over here, as we can see, the text is actually raised a bit off of the center. And I think that's fine, because again, back here, I specifically made this one to hang slightly above the center, just like an IBM Plex Sans. It allows more clearance for those characters while remaining balanced. And there are a couple other nitpicks here, like the @ sign, and these curves probably extend above the curves of the capital letters, but I'll move on. I would also like a good monospaced font, because I program a lot. I would take IBM Plex Mono and alter it so that it reflects sans better, like this. And then I would apply the rest of the sans criticisms to it. Now here is IBM Plex Sans, and here are the changes I made. So as you can see, that Q and the G are being replaced. I lowered the I and the J so that they line up better with the other lowercase characters. I moved the underscore. I changed the @ to line up better with the uppercase characters. And I also changed the curly braces. and the 0. I like how this looks a lot, but this isn't a font. It is, I put together a bunch of things. It's a Frankenstein of stuff on top of other stuff in Google Slides. I can't write in this, but I can write in IBM Plex Sans, and that is what I have been using for maybe the past year or so. And make no mistake, I have tried to look for better fonts many times in the past, but this is the best one for me that I've found so far, and I guess I just like it. Yeah. I think I could also talk about this. I think this is also a part of the hanging above center a little bit, but not being too unbalanced. So this is fine. Other than that, I think I have no other notes, really. Yeah. I think IBM Plex Sans is a decent font. In fact, I'd call it good enough. But, yeah, I'd like to hear other people's opinions on this. I've been thinking about this on and off for over half my life at this point. And, yeah. I guess that's it. See ya.